Sorry, I don't know why my voice is so raspy. You ready? Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And thank you, our virtual audience. We're delighted to have with us the 3 W's. How long has it been?
2 years.
2 years.
Since before the pandemic.
Yes, our last book came out right before the pandemic. And then here we are again. So yay. We broke the world. Sorry.
But we've tried to put it back together again.
Yes.
We did.
Healing.
Anyway,
It's all about healing.
it is. So Beatrice was here this summer. But just to make sure you know who everybody is, Karen White in the pink, Beatriz Williams in the colorful dress, and Lauren
Oh,
Williams
you're supposed to be the
in
pop of
tasteful
color in the
blue.
middle. Oh,
I'm Barbara Peters from the Poison Pen. I'm going to remove myself from this whole show because the 3 of them have a very polished act. So, or at least let me put it this way, we hope they do. The book is called The Lost Summers of Newport. And I have to say, ladies, that we've been having a discussion, quite a brisk one, with a number of authors about the rise of the Gothic. And while your story is really not a Gothic in a way, because it takes place in the Sprague Mansion in Newport, Rhode Island, it is kind of a Gothic, which if you think about Rebecca or the fall of the House of Usher or whatever, the action takes place, as a rule, within a house, right? The house is an important feature
And we
of the
also
story.
have a torrential storm and a boathouse, which I think
yes.
are both key elements of the
yes.
Gothic.
There are certainly Gothic elements in this novel.
So
I
Jane
would
Ann
say.
Krantz, you better be watching this.
The
and J.T.
governess
Ellison, because the 3
slash
of us
music
have done
teacher.
Oh
this.
my goodness, it's true. We have a
We
governess
wrote a
substitute.
Gothic.
It's,
Oh my gosh.
we,
We wrote
we followed the Mary Stuart rule.
Right.
That's
Or the
right.
Victoria Holt rule. Yes.
Oh gosh, I love Victoria Holt.
This is why authors come to the Poison Pen, so we can tell them what they actually wrote.
You were the one who first told me I was writing mysteries when I didn't realize
That's
it
true.
yet.
I did. In point of fact. Anyway, I myself have been to Newport, and I have walked the Cliff Walk, which is really kind of a great test. It goes all around behind the Gilded Age mansions. It's not in great repair, so sometimes it's exciting. I was
For all the wrong
all
reasons.
right.
Yeah.
So and then this will not be about me anymore, but you'll love this story. So my husband and I are off a cruise ship, and we're in Newport, and we decide we've been to Newport before, we've been to the mansions, now we're going to do the Cliff Walk, right? So off we go. And as we're walking along, there's this eager group of young people behind us, and they regard us with some contempt as we're scrambling along, and then they get ahead of us, but then they stop to take photos, and so we get ahead of them, and it sort of goes like that, on and on and on. But eventually you come around to a point where you've done most of the Cliff Walk, and there's a street that heads back to town, but then there's a continuation of the Cliff Walk that goes past a beach. So these kids are all standing there at the stop sign, kind of panting. And as they turn towards town, and my husband and I sail on, I look over my shoulder and I said to them, this is what 75 looks like today.
Oh, yay.
Yay! All right, ladies, top that.
Well, we did spend some time on the Cliff Walk when we were working on this book.
Yes, yes. I spent quite a lot of time on the Cliff Walk. So, you know, well, I was going to say, should we dial back to when we got the idea for the book, or should we dial all the way back to when we got the idea to write together?
Well, who here has heard our origin story about how we started writing together? Oh my goodness, only more hands are secretly
Has it been a
shyly
couple
going up.
of years, so you don't remember our jokes?
That's true.
Oh, the virtual audience as well.
That's
don't forget.
true.
Oh, okay.
Because the question,
Yes, it'll all be new to you. Okay.
because the question we are most commonly asked is how we came to write together. There are some wonderful conspiracy theories, including the one that we were put together like the Spice Girls.
Not true. Not true. In fact, the real story is actually a very common one. Yeah. 3 writers walk into a bar. This is the truth. That's what happened. It was the summer of 2012. This was the summer my own first book came out, so the date stands out in my memory. And I was in need of a little consolation at that point. My book, Overseas. Who's read Overseas?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, okay, so all of you are in this room together, which is very cool.
Well, hey, Karen and I read too.
Yeah, Karen, yes. So
You stalked us, so we
I
blurb
stalked
it.
and see what good that did.
Beatrice
Which
accosted
is why
us
I've
with
never
arts.
asked them to blurb another book of mine
Yes, she
again.
has. We do it often.
So we had become friends, and my book had come out, and to, obviously universal acclaim and weeks on the bestseller list, all my dreams coming true. No.
No.
So, so I went around, and then these two gave me some really sage advice. They said, what you want to do is go around to bookstores in various cities and sign all the books so they can't return them to the publisher.
You do realize that Barbara is listening.
Yeah, Barbara's
Yes.
here.
She gave me that advice. That's what Lauren said. So, yes. So this was, I think, the low points. I go into, I think it was like an airport bookstore, and I asked for, to sign the copies. I'm the author, and they went back. They scratched their heads and went back in the storeroom and brought out, the 5 copies, I think, of Overseas that they had in stock, and so I'm signing them diligently with my, signature, which Karen.
Billy Uris.
Yes.
She says it looks like Billy Uris.
Billy Uris follows
signed
us around on every book tour.
And signs all my books. So I know apparently once you see it, you can't unsee it. So sorry about that. But anyway, so in the time it took me to sign these 5 books, I think at least 20 women must have come in and bought copies of the book that actually was a runaway bestseller and got made into actually multiple movies, and that would of course be.
And won the Pulitzer, right?
No, I think it was the Booker.
It was the Booker Prize, yes, 50 Shades of Grey. So that was, it was tough to sort of plow through that. That was definitely, this is what life as a writer is like.
The disappointment.
The disappointments. But you guys had an even, more jaded perspective at that point.
At that point, we were veterans. We were old and jaded. We'd been on more than our share of book. I think Karen and I were each on about our 10th book or thereabouts. Right. And so there we were bucking Beatrice up by telling her things like, book tour never gets easier. Yeah. The travel is always grueling. The events are great, but then you get to your hotel room and you can't eat in the hotel bar because there's invariably a convention of creepy guys.
Proctologists or something.
Something like that.
Yes. Or funeral directors.
That actually there was at one point.
Yes.
Who all want to sit with you and ask you about being a writer.
Or like when it's bike week at Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yes. That's a new one.
Actually fantastic.
But anyways, you can't be at the hotel bar, so you have to go and order room service. And when the room service guy gets a look at your order, he usually takes a big look around your room to see how many other people are hiding there, and then asks, is all this for you? And it's really humiliating, but you're hungry because you've been traveling all day. So there we were, informing her that it doesn't actually get any better.
We were drinking a lot of wine at this point.
Well, I had draped myself over the piano singing
Memory.
Down.
Nobody knows the trouble.
Chewing on my cigar.
Yes.
And, and then, Beatrice stumbles in, and Lauren and I take her under our wing.
Perfectly upright.
At the beginning. We take her under our wing. We start commiserating with her and sharing the bad news that it really doesn't ever get better. And
somehow sheep got into it.
Did y'all notice?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
This
Our
is the
team
Team W mascot.
It's our mascot.
And by the way, Team W, that's the 3 of us, and plus the 4th W is? Wine.
Wine.
Sometimes spelled with an H.
Yes.
Yes.
So we were there, I don't know how many bottles.
There were several cocktails first.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, this was 2012. There were cosmopolitans.
Yes. And I think
the
like
chocolate
martinis.
Yes.
That was a real thing then.
And then the red wine.
Yes, all of
So
that.
the sugar, the booze.
We were having
wired.
so much fun together that it dawned on us that, oh my goodness, why can't we always travel like this and have people to eat with to ward off the proctologists?
Tell sheep jokes. Really bad sheep jokes.
Yeah, woolly bad ones.
Yes.
Okay, don't ram the point home.
It was sheer
sorry.
magic, our meeting. And so we thought there was only one thing we needed to do in order to be able to go on book tour together, which is, like a publisher-funded girls trip. And also, key point, have the publisher pay our bar bill.
Which was mounting by the moment.
Mounting by the moment. So we thought, I know, we should write a book together.
How hard could it be?
Right?
Easy peasy.
And we've been talking, about sheep. The sheep jokes were flowing, and where do you find sheep? Oh my gosh, Scotland. Oh my gosh,
as we know, here at the Poison Pen,
Outlander.
books set in Scotland
with men in kilts, they
do
sell.
very
They
well.
are very.
So we're like, and I was like, wait a minute, guys, I have the perfect title: 50 Shades of plaid, right?
Surefire winner.
Like it couldn't lose, you know. You had Jamie Fraser combination with Christian Grey, you know. I mean, sheep were running
gambling sheep.
Yeah. Sorry.
So we go stumbling out into the hallway, and who do we see?
Oh, my teetotaling editor, long-term editor at that point, and before that point had had a lot of respect for me, and like Cindy, oh my gosh, we have this fabulous idea. We want to write a book together, and we want to call it 50 Shades of Plaid. Dead silence.
I think she dropped her carrot stick.
Yeah,
I mean, we thought she was going to go run and get legal on the phone, grab the nearest cocktail napkin, sign us up before we
were ready. We had pens in hand.
Yes.
And it didn't quite work.
I mean, we had the champagne to celebrate.
Yeah, and it didn't quite work that way.
No, instead, you know, there's a special voice that editors use with recalcitrant authors. It's the please don't have a temper tantrum in the block corner nursery school teacher voice. And she looks at us. First, she takes a step back away from the alcohol fumes and says, okay, why don't you all go upstairs now? Have a nice glass of water, take some aspirin. You'll feel better in the morning.
Except we didn't. Well, it wasn't morning, it was the afternoon, and it wasn't a good day. But we all went to our respective homes. I'm in Georgia, Beatrice is in Connecticut, Lauren is in New York. And we went back, and happily or fortunately, we sort of pushed aside that, and I never mentioned it to my editor. I didn't want to bring up bad PTSD.
Oh, we were so relieved it was Karen's editor and not one of ours.
Yeah. We were feeling a little sheepish about the whole incident.
Right, and I was really waiting for Cindy to say no. You remember that book that you're supposed to be right? Never mind, we're canceling the contract. But the thing that I think we realized right away, and we have other author friends, and lots of author friends, but I don't know if we had ever considered writing a book with them. An anthology is something different from what we were thinking about doing, basically a collaboration. And I don't know any other authors who would chortle as loudly as we did over the whole sheep thing. And, and at the time, I had been thinking about a dual timeline story, as I do, of different generations of related women in a house or apartment building in New York City in 2 different time periods. And I hadn't gone very far with it, but I was just thinking, this could be a cool project for 3 different storylines, because that's something we've all done.
We all write in these multiple storylines,
right? And so I texted the Unibrain, as we now call ourselves. Yes. It wasn't the Unibrain then, but what became. We were
just. I think initially,
we were still 3 separate brains and 3 separate bodies at that point.
Yes, we were briefly the Wonder Writers, which is what Beatrice's daughter named us.
There was the alliteration there. But we soon realized that we were, what is it, Karen?
Stop.
Can you explain it to the nice ladies and gentlemen?
The Unibrain, which is, let me think, one brain.
In brain.
Three bodies.
See, we give poor Karen a hard time because on one of our previous tours, she stood up full of enthusiasm and announced, "We are the Unibrain. We are 3 brains in 1 body."
and that would be science. There was one of those silences. Yes, I know.
Tried to do the
People were doing the math, and it just wasn't.
But this is what book tour does to your brain. You're like, I have no idea what's going on.
But as soon as Karen said that she had this idea about a house or an apartment building in New York City, my brain lit up, because I knew the perfect house that we could use as the inspiration for a house. My husband's family, a long time ago, a century ago, had built this beautiful double-fronted mansion in New York City for a paltry cost of, I like to say it like Dr. Evil, right? $1 million, which was a lot of money back in 1914. So this beautiful house, and just to show you, and this is actually important for our book set in Newport, to show you how the effect of income tax in 1913, inheritance taxes, and the effects of the Depression and the rise in labor costs shortly after World War II, it was sold. this beautiful mansion, Upper East Side of Manhattan, 69th Street. It was sold for a significant, I would say, discount to its original
much was it,
price.
Beatrice?
Yes,
I don't like to. So my mother-in-law apparently told me after our first event in Newport that she doesn't actually like me to mention the sum
So I
involved.
will. So I will. It was $50,000. I know.
a little bit of
right?
a discount.
Yes. So
No.
think about that for a second. We'll come back to that. But the mansion itself, and we thought this would be a great house story. Here's a house we could tell this story in 3 different time periods. Gilded Age when it's built, 1920s, 1940s, and each of us could write one of the characters. So
We were so
We got
excited
together.
by this idea that Karen, who by the way hates the cold, got on a plane from Georgia and came up to New York in March.
No,
Meanwhile-
midwinter.
It was March 28th. Meanwhile, Beatrice took a train all the way down from Old Lyme, Connecticut, and I walked the whole 10 blocks from my apartment.
yes.
And we met up at Alice's Teacup on the Upper East Side, where we ordered umpteen pots of tea. We planted ourselves
So much tea.
at a table, and these poor servers, they kept hoping that we would leave. They would get all excited when we would go like this, and instead of saying check please, we'd say more hot water, because we had meant to just sort of throw out a few ideas and see if we could come up with something. And instead, over the course of 5 hours and 16 pots of tea, we
Roughly.
roughly, we're estimating, there were several hot water refills.
And lots of scones.
and-
Yes.
and
Lemon
potted
curd.
cream.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Lemon
Yeah,
curd.
Karen was eating the lemon curd with a
With
spoon.
it was
But we wound up plotting out a whole novel.
Yes.
much to our surprise, because when we got there, we were thinking, let's just see if
Just
this is
brainstorm a little.
a little
Yeah.
and just get the idea. And that's when we discovered what the Team W magic is. It's something we can't define, we can't tell you what it is. It is that secret special magic sauce that happens when we get together and start plotting a book. One person, we knew immediately, these two had to leave their egos at the door. I don't really have one, so I just kind of, waltzed right in.
Carried on
But
as
we-
usual.
But we sat down and we knew instinctively we were professional writers. We trusted each other. We were all best-selling authors. There was nothing to prove except that we could write a book together. One person mentioned, one idea, a character, whatever. Then the next person, instead of saying, "Oh no, that's not going to work. Let's do this instead," it was building. Every person would have something to build on that original idea or character or plot point or whatever, until after 4 hours, we had this wonderful book or book plan. And something else that we realized, we all had our little special things to offer. Me, because I'm the only Southern part of the group, I was the incest monitor.
We
So
gave
our
her
book-
official badge and everything.
Yes.
Yes.
So when
And
you
a
have
button.
a story where there's multiple members of a family and
As this book was.
as this
yes.
book was, and generations go down the line and people fall in love.
And their secret babies.
And there's secret babies, and those secret babies fall in love. So Karen's the one who's like presses the buzzer.
Yes, it's
Because
no,
Beatrice
can't
and I
do
were getting
that.
so
First
confused.
cousins,
No,
and I'm like,
no.
well, we could move it to England.
Yes, or
you know.
Arkansas was my
Or
suggestion.
Arkansas.
I can say that I'm going to a family reunion in Arkansas this
See,
July.
that's why she's our incest monitor.
Exactly. So Karen's very helpful in that regard. And so anyway, we all have, there was a wonderful, synergy there at that table. And in fact, we can't really define it, but if you happen to be in HR at a corporation and want to have motivational speakers talk about teamwork and are willing to pay a great deal of money, I'm sure we can come up with something.
Yes.
Yes. But
So-
anyway, there we were so energized, we were so excited. These characters were alive, not just in our own heads, but it was as if they were there between us. But we had one big problem. Well, actually, it was more like, something like 5 big problems. Our agents and our editors, all of whom thought this was an absolutely terrible idea.
Yes.
First, because it might distract us from the books we actually kind of happened to be under contract for at the time.
Fair.
And
Yeah, so
second,
whatever.
because they kept repeating to us over and over again, people don't buy anthologies. And we kept saying, but this isn't an anthology, this is one novel. And they would look at us and count and say, but there are 3 of you. And we would say, yes, we know, but it's still one novel. And they really did not want us to write it. But we were very focused on getting our bar bill paid.
Yes.
And Karen's editor really loved Karen, and despite the whole sheep thing. And so she pity bought it. It was an absolute unabashed pity buy. And they made very clear that they expected it to be a tragic mess.
Yeah.
But then we wrote the book and we turned it in. And Karen's editor read the manuscript, and she sends us an email with a tone, I would say, of rather unflattering surprise. It was like, this is pretty good, and the best part of that email, she sent the wrong revision notes to the wrong author. Karen is her longtime protege, right? And she did not know which part Karen had written.
Yes, and to be fair, she doesn't drink caffeine. She doesn't drink alcohol.
She lives on carrot sticks and water.
So we thought maybe she's just a little bit wobbly. But then the book went out into the world, and we started getting emails from people saying, I know which character you wrote. And we'd be like, well, actually, no, it wasn't. And we switched for our second book to Beatrice's longtime editor, who also sent the wrong edits to the wrong authors. And we were terribly proud.
Yes. We thought we were really onto something. And so we went out on we had high, lofty goals. Number 1, editor pays for the girls' trip. Number 2, editor pays the bar bill.
So we're really devoted to our art.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
This was
all
like
work. That's the 5th W.
Team goals. And so we went out on the book tour, mission accomplished, and we're about a day or so into the book tour, and we post, a picture on Instagram of the three of us, like with our cocktails, like
that's
cheers,
all the media ball?
No, that was
okay.
I think that was Glass Ocean.
Okay,
yeah. And then our publicist sends us a quick email saying, "Oh my gosh, you got so many likes on that Instagram photo. You need to post a lot more photos of you drinking together."
And we're like, mission accomplished.
We're like, that sounds to me like a business expense. So I know. So we had already accomplished our goals, and then we're about a week and a half out. And we are celebrating our success in Karen's kitchen. And all of a sudden, one of us picks up a phone and realizes we've got all these unanswered calls from our agent and editor. And we were in a panic.
Yeah, thinking that something was terribly wrong, that, the book was doing so poorly, they were going to pull us off the road, end the girls' trip, or weren't going to pay our bar bill. We were very concerned.
Yeah,
so immediately I saw one from my editor, who was the editor for the book, and that was Forgotten Room, by the way. I don't think we mentioned that.
Oh, you Forgotten
Room. And I call her back immediately, and she, in a very, again, the tone of
unflattering surprise.
Says, you made the list, the New York Times bestseller list. And we were like,
And our first thought was, oh my gosh, does this mean they're going to let us do it again?
Yes. So I think 2 days later, when we were, last event of the book tour, we sat down at a French restaurant in Myrtle Beach. It was not Bike Week this time.
Yes.
Which was terrific because the French restaurant was then empty. And we plotted out, or at least brainstormed the glass ocean.
And we enjoyed that one so much that then we wrote all the ways we said goodbye.
Yes. Although we didn't get our trip to Paris like we wanted.
But I know, that was just, we did try.
Our husbands are mean and hateful that way.
Yeah. And then we knew we wanted to write, even before that book hit the shelves, we knew we wanted to write a fourth one together.
Yes. And luckily, I had a great idea. I am known among my contribution to the W culture is that I provide book ideas via my habit in the morning of getting a cup of coffee and scrolling through some very highbrow news sites like the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Because
only the best.
Only the best. Look, I am a novelist. I want to know what people are up to. And the Daily Mail is great for that. So I found this story about a reality show in the UK. And it was this kind of a house makeover thing, but with a twist. It was about, they would go into like these large country estates, these aristocratic country estates. and they would be renovating, literally, like they needed to put in like indoor plumbing in some of these places. And so they were doing all this renovation, but what was obvious was that it wasn't really about the house. It was about the families. It was about the history and the generations and all these little secrets hidden in the walls. And I said, oh my gosh, you guys, we should write this as a W book set in America.
And of course, what place in America says crumbling old ancestral pile like Newport, Rhode Island? So we immediately thought about setting our story in Newport, which meant, of course, that we knew that our second time period after the present day mansion makeover show was going to be the Gilded Age.
Yes.
So it was sort of like a return to our origins, because remember, the Forgotten Room was about an old house that, you know, through 3 different generations. So choosing Newport, which is synonymous with Gilded Age, and currently, you know, with crumbling old mansions, it was very clear that that was a very good choice. And one of us happens to have a daughter named Megan White, who
could it be?
who has a graduate degree in historic preservation from the College of Charleston. And by the way, she bears no resemblance to the character Megan Black in the book, who has a graduate degree in historic preservation from the College of Charleston. But I knew that would be perfect, because for research, all I had to do was pick up the phone and you know, ask her the questions. And of course, she always wanted to know how much she would be paid for her expertise. And since she's getting married in October, I said, how about a wedding?
So basically, she did not come cheap.
No.
Did not come cheap,
So, but we have the best idea to help recoup some of the wedding expenses. And we haven't told Megan this yet, so it's a big surprise.
Big surprise. Don't
So
tell her.
don't
Don't tell her.
Don't tell Megan.
We are going to do a reception/book signing.
Right?
Even better, it's gonna be book with ticket.
Book with
Book
ticket.
with ticket, yes.
And then Lauren and I can do like readings during the service from our books.
And from the Book of W.
Yes, like all the sex scenes.
No.
No, that's like the Song of Solomon.
it's a church
Only it's a
wedding,
song of
no.
Beatrice.
No.
Is there a boathouse?
Exactly.
Maybe we can have one built on the premises.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So what
Because there
happens.
needs
That would
to
be
be
a
a
fraction
body.
of the cost.
There needs
of the
to be.
rest of it.
Well,
Yeah.
build a boathouse and say, don't go in it.
Anyway,
Oh,
don't tell
yes.
Megan. It's going to be a surprise. She's going to be
We know
it's like
she's gonna be
a
thrilled.
So
wedding.
surprised.
Love it.
Babies, we actually, it's funny, this is something we have not talked about much on tour, but so we had our first 2 time periods, and we had a lot of trouble fixing on the third. We were thinking for a while of doing prohibition, of, you know, rum running, because of course they
I
are on
had
the
already
coast.
done all the research on that with my Wicked City
But we
books.
just couldn't make it work. Sometimes something just won't fit in a book, and then it suddenly dawned on us, the 1950s.
Yes. And you know, we were just talking about the movie High Society. Maybe that was what gave us the idea. You know, that scene where Grace Kelly is driving around Frank Sinatra, and they're going around the Newport mansions, and she's saying, oh, well, that one's been sold for taxes. That's being turned into a boys' school. And I think that's what kind of got it in my head. I mean, the 1950s were a period when, again, you know, remembering going back to what I told you to remember about my husband's family and this house that had sold for peanuts. That was really happening because of the taxes and the cost of labor. And the 1950s was when these houses were getting sold for nothing, pulled down, ugly apartment buildings put up, and the good ladies of Newport decided something had to be done. So the preservation movement really got into full swing in the 1950s. And of course, these society women, they want to have fun while they're preserving houses. So they like to have big balls. And one of the biggest, I'll rephrase that, they want to throw parties. I'm sorry, forget words like this. And strap on a pair of diamonds. No, so one of the iconic events of this whole period was the Tiffany Ball, which was, God, now I can't unthink it, Karen. Sorry.
It's our last day of tour. Well, my last day.
Okay, the Tiffany Ball, and the reason it was called that, so it was held in Marble House, which is one of the great Vanderbilt mansions. The Kennedys were there, Jack and Jackie Kennedy. In fact, Jackie was like a few months pregnant with Carolyn at the time. So I know. And one of the women, actually Mrs. Sheldon Whitehouse, who is the, I think, grandmother of the current senator from Rhode Island, Sheldon Whitehouse,
This got a lot more excitement in the audience in Rhode Island.
I know. They were like, ooh. He's very progressive, and here's his mom, who's like his grandma, this very establishment figure. I mean, the White Houses go back, way back, as, you know, diplomats and basically people holding up the WASP establishment. And anyway, she was the one chosen to wear the 120-carat Tiffany yellow diamond at the ball,
which we thought would really look good on us at book tour.
We thought the book launch, one of us could wear it,
or we could just divide
or three of us.
I could, you know, my husband has a chainsaw. We could just divide it in threes and then have it set,
and then,
instead of a sheep setting,
and then go on the lamb.
But but the Tiffany people, for some reason, they did not return our email.
I don't know why.
Or our messages, or the little envelopes with the rice powder.
And they got very cross about our turning up all in black outside the store at the dead of night.
Yeah, they thought we had.
Rude.
I know, rude. So unfortunately, we were thwarted in that. And in fact, we were also thwarted in our big research trip. We were at the time, I don't know if anyone was here when we were here in end of January 2020, right before the pandemic, and we told you we could give you one clue. Remember that?
Yes.
Newport,
Rhode Island.
Yeah, and we already had our trip planned. We were going to be there like the first week of May. We had hotels, everything. It was just warm enough for Karen. She bought her furs.
Yes, we even had reservations at like wonderful restaurants we wanted to try because we believe in suffering for our craft and wanted to authentically reproduce things that we would put in
our hotel is called Gilded.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I know.
Yeah.
And we hung on to those reservations till I think they literally called us and canceled them.
I was in New York where we were in hard lockdown, and I kept saying, guys, this is not going to happen. We need to cancel. And Beatrice was like, no, it'll be over.
Georgia. And I'm like, what
weeks.
pandemic?
So we wound up actually, and we were a little worried because a major part of our process, dating back to that first day at Alice's Teacup, has always been getting together to plot the book in person. And with this one, we just couldn't. We had to do it on FaceTime.
Like, literally, what is the point of writing the book if we can't get together
and drink
and
I mean,
right, sweetie, right.
Work.
Yes, work.
But we were way under contract.
Yes, so we FaceTimed each other. We had just these marathon FaceTime sessions with like the sirens screaming in the background on Lauren's side, you know, and we're like, wow, it's something, what is there an accident? She's like, no.
It's just more people going to the hospital with COVID.
So we some of them managed to do it. It actually worked. It took a couple of days. We got it all outlined, wrote the book, and then I kind of took one for the team here. I'm close enough to Rhode Island that I could take little day trips. So I would go and kind of scout out the territory, and I'd FaceTime them from the cliff walk. I'd be like, guys, Sheep Cove. It's called Sheep Cove, right near where the house is, where we're gonna have our family.
And we'd be like, Beatrice, don't step back. Because when Barbara was telling her story about the cliff walk, I kept thinking about that because we'd see Beatrice on these uneven, jagged rocks. We had to like lean back to show us.
I know, like selfie.
We're like,
this isn't gonna end well. I was
like,
already calling Wendy Wax about making a replacement.
They're ruthless. But we did eventually get to Newport.
We did. Yes. For our what? For our.
Remember when we put the book together?
Oh, right. So the way our process works is we get together to plot it on FaceTime if we have to, and then we retreat to our separate corners of the world. We write round robin, and then we get together again in person to polish up.
Horrible place. You know, like, I don't know, my beach house or Newport.
Or New Hampshire in November.
Yeah, but that's because when I knew they hated me.
It was very
trying
productive.
to kill me. Yeah,
it was extremely productive and very evocative. We were outlining the glass ocean, and my husband was the one who pointed out that the Mount Washington Hotel was kind of modeled on an ocean liner.
Mm-hmm. And I felt like I'd been immersed in icy cold water the entire time.
So
we did,
it was like method writing.
Right.
Yeah.
So we went to Newport and we did the whole thing, sent it into our editor, and then what happened?
What happened?
Then we started plotting the next book.
Which is what we always, actually, it's funny. So it was actually, this time we didn't even wait till we had finished polishing up Newport. There was an idea we had been tossing around for a while. And for some reason on lunch, our second day there, working on the edits, it caught our imagination and we just started throwing out ideas and building on it. And every so often, one of us, usually me, would be like, but guys, we need to finish the edits.
I know, and because we were so excited. I mean, we're always excited about our book ideas, but this one especially grabbed a hold of us.
We always say that with everybody.
I know, we say that with everybody.
I know, but this one I think
But we can't tell you anything about it.
Should we tell them one word?
One word.
Okay.
Can we do one word?
Are you ready?
One word.
Left
Are you
hand?
ready?
Yeah.
Left
Okay.
hand.
Scotland.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we have talked you to death. So we will
love
open
to
to
have
questions.
We didn't actually tell them what the book was kind of about.
Oh, that's true. We forgot that bit.
But you can read it. You can just read it. And
Yes.
the plot's in the book. Just read the back of the book.
It's 1899, 1957 in modern day.
And in the modern day, you have this poor producer of a TV show that she had hoped would be like This Old House, only This Old Mansion, where she would talk about preservation, restoration.
Paint colors,
Exactly.
authenticity. Yeah, but instead, her producer wants her to dig into the family secrets to make it juicy so people would actually watch the show.
And she's a single mom. She doesn't have many choices. She needs this job.
So she starts digging. And what does she find, Karen?
And the more she digs, the more wallpaper she pulls down, the more walls that she actually removes, she discovers.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, you'll just
Actually,
have to
the
read
wallpaper
You'll have to
unrolls off the walls all by itself.
All by itself.
She
It's
wasn't
very
pulling
hanging
it
in
down.
tatters.
Yes.
Yeah, this house has not been well maintained.
So they
It
discover
reveals more
the
than
history and
just-
secrets of the family who originally, well, they didn't actually build it.
No,
This is
actually,
an Easter egg for those of you who are big Lauren Willig fans.
we do
and aren't we all?
We love borrowing bits from all of our own previous books. And so for those of you who read my book, The English Wife, this is the Van Doyvel's Newport summer cottage, which they had to sell off rapidly in 1899 for reasons some of you will know. And so this new Colorado mining family bought it up cheap because they have a daughter to launch into society and they want to make a splash. They're busy trying to suck up to the new money who is sucking up to the older money. And so John Spragg wants his sister Mabel Spragg to make a stepsister.
This is very important.
Yes,
Incest monitor.
So he wants his stepsister Mabel Spragg to make an impressive marriage so that he will be invited to the dinners and clubs he would like to join. But there's no hope of marrying her into American society. They are very new, very grubby money. And so he's got his eye on an Italian prince who is long on pedigree but short on roof tiles.
Plus, they are in Newport, where Consuelo Vanderbilt was forced to marry the Duke of Marlborough by her mother Ava, who was a real holy terror.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Locked her in a room.
So that works out.
Yes.
She did lock her
And that
in a
turned
room.
out so well for everyone.
Right.
Well, you know, it did get chats or, Blenheim Palace, you know, the roof got repaired.
Right.
So
That's true.
I don't think Jenny Jerome, Winston Churchill's mother, was another American heiress, but she was not in Newport. I think I don't remember that she has a Newport history.
I don't know, just
No.
New York. That's
Yeah.
And we were all fascinated too by the Buccaneers who went outside of England, who were looking for, there weren't enough English titles to go around.
That's right.
And so you had, for example, Anna Gould, Jay Gould's daughter, married a very dissolute French count, and that was another disaster of a marriage.
Yes, that we sort of used as the model for our the marriage at the very beginning of All the Ways We Said Goodbye. That sort of formed this very rocky marriage of
money and title.
However, not all Italian princes are created the same.
Yes.
But I think that's all right. So you know, it's fabulous. Just trust us.
Yes.
So, questions? Patrick, do we have any questions from the no doubt stunned virtual audience?
Well, I think there's going to be a question from Karen's daughter being like, are you really selling book with ticket for my reception?
Oh, that's a joke.
Yes.
Don't worry, Megan.
It's fine.
We would
Well,
never.
they're not going to give them. All right, your virtual audience wants to know more about the upcoming book, but you've already given us the only word.
that's
Yeah,
it.
we
Sorry.
can't
You
tell
have to
more.
understand
Oh, well,
something
actually,
about
we-
Team W is that we are very, very private and secretive.
Yes.
For instance, we will never reveal who writes which part. We will never reveal our non-ending text chains, as a matter of fact. And our next book idea, will probably also be hermetically sealed, along with our text chain, which will be...
Yes, we have already sold the rights to the text chain, but with a few conditions.
Yes, we do have plans to have the text chain published in a heavily redacted 24-volume leather-bound set several years after our deaths.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
Yes. And as well as all of our... We have like 1 million story ideas that are going to be in the same...
We're going to need audio narrators for that as well, like 3 to 1 for me. And
what if we do it this way? Why don't you tell us what each of you is going to write separately that you could talk about?
Yeah.
We can do that. Should
All
I
right,
start?
so
Because I'm on the
Karen?
end.
Go for it, Karen.
So yes, my next book is coming out on May 2nd. It's called The House on Britannia.
Next
Next
year
May.
from now, yes.
What month are we in?
We're in May.
Oh, so much. Next May 2023. It is the second book in my spin-off series of the Trad Street series. It is a sequel to The Shop on Royal Street. I'm also currently trying to work on another Southern fiction single title set in the Low Country, and some more mysteries, family saga, that kind of thing.
And my next book, they haven't given me a pub date. I don't know why they're so specific. It's be out next summer.
Summer.
Really? A summer book, Beatrice?
A summer book, yes.
Surprise.
My editor loves it when I write books, not only that are released in the summer, but are also about summer. And so she really wanted me to write a summary book, and I kind of wanted to write Cold War, so we decided to do both at once. If you've read my book, The Summer Wives, it's set on an island, a fictional island called Winthrop Island that is loosely based on a real island called Fisher's Island in Long Island Sound. And if you haven't heard of Fisher's Island, that's because that's exactly how the Fisher's Islanders like it. So I renamed it, my fictional version, Winthrop Island, and changed a few details because they are very wealthy and can hire better lawyers than I can. But in this instance, Winthrop Island, we will revisit a few familiar characters and also meet some new ones. A family whose aunt has come to stay for the summer, and it turns out she's in using her cottage as a radio relay station for the KGB to get atomic secrets
As
out
one's
of
aunts tend to do.
And so our main character, who has befriended this woman, is now asked, if you've read Our Women in Moscow, our old friend Sumner Fox arrives on Winthrop Island and asks our main character to help him unmask this woman. So that's the story, and it is because my editor can be a little literal. She wanted the word summer to be in the title, so you would all know it was a summer book because it's obviously we need to make these things clear to readers.
Sumner Fox is in it,
and Sumner Fox is in it. So hopefully that will just get in. Yeah, exactly. Help you all realize that this is a summer book. I'm sure there will be a summary cover to go along with that and reinforce that message. So I got...
Now I just have this image of KGB agent in swimming trunks with a surfboard.
Exactly.
Surfing USSR.
It's not far off. No. So anyway, I renamed the estate on which this all takes place Summerly. And the book is now called Summerly. So you will all know it is a summer book.
So it's very
winter.
summery.
It's set in winter.
It's set in the dead of winter.
Okay.
And for my next one, so how many of you have read Band of Sisters? Okay, a few hands. Well, anyway, Band of Sisters was about the Smith College Relief Unit, a group of women who went overseas during World War I to bring humanitarian aid to villagers right behind the front lines at the height of World War I. So there they are while the bombs are falling, bringing milk to babies, teaching classes, rebuilding homes, doing whatever they need to do, and actually standing off a German invasion. And I was really fascinated while I was writing it by the founder of the unit, the woman who thought this was a good idea when no one else did, who was like, yes, I will bring American college grads to a war zone and we will fix everything. And So as I wrote Band of Sisters, I became increasingly intrigued by this woman and her past, because I kept thinking, what makes someone the kind of woman who will be like, let's bring a group of college grads to a war zone? What are these secrets she keeps hinting at throughout the book? So this book goes back to the 1890s, when a young Smith College graduate goes off to Athens because she wants to be an archaeologist. She wants to dig like Amelia Peabody, and is told that, actually, I got an Amelia Peabody line into the book, and I made them not take it out.
Goals.
Goals. Well, actually, it's funny because there is also an Amelia Peabody reference in Band of Sisters, because Mrs. Rutherford, the head of the Smith College Relief Unit, who is a pioneering archaeologist, is such an Amelia character that I felt like I had to do that nod. And my very perturbed copy editor for that group put a note in the margin saying, "You are aware she's not real, right?" She's not? What?
Not in our world.
But anyway, so back to the 1890s. A young Smith College graduate goes off to Athens determined to dig, and is told that young ladies do not excavate. And she is determined to prove the Harvard boys wrong, to the point where when the Greco-Turkish War breaks out, as Greco-Turkish wars tend to do, she goes off to the front as a war nurse to show them how sturdy she is, despite the fact, by the way, that she fails her Red Cross exam and has to pull strings with Queen Olga of Greece to get herself sent over, knowing nothing. But anyway, in real life, the thing that really fascinated me was that, so a year after that, the real woman on whom this was all based goes off to Crete, where she has a groundbreaking dig that changes the face of archaeology forever. She's a monument in the field. But before that, there's this weird interlude where she goes off to nurse in the Spanish-American War. And I thought, wait, what? Why? Why would someone do that? And there's nothing about it. And I mean, there's no explanation. There's very little written about it. It's like, wait, what is she hiding? And so, well, I can't tell you about what the real woman was hiding. The answer is not much. But in the case of my fictional character, something really terrible happens during the Greco-Turkish War, and she needs to redeem herself in the jungles of Cuba. So that's the book that's coming out next April. Right now it's slated for April 1st, 2023. And yeah, it's a year late because pandemic and no childcare. My kids were 2 and 6 when we went into lockdown. And they did not really understand mommy needs to write now. So there was a long time where I was thinking about this book, but not actually writing it. So,
and what's the title, Lauren?
oh God, this is
best title ever.
This is a painful bit. So our mutual editor asked me if I had any title ideas. So I sent her a long list of really serious titles I was actually considering, and then made the mistake of throwing in a joke line.
Don't ever.
And remember, our editor can be a little literal.
If you're watching this, we love you.
We love you, Rachel.
We do love her.
Great titles.
Yeah.
No, we really do love her. But anyway, so I threw in a throwaway line. If none of those work, we can always just call it 2 Wars and a Wedding. And next thing I know, I get an email back, oh my God, 2 Wars and a Wedding. It's great. I love it. Let's do it. You know what? I should have just said, let's call it the Summer Wars.
Just all you need is to put like Hugh Grant wandering through, shuffling
Hugh Grant
through
could be on the cover.
Yes, you know, next to Teddy Roosevelt. But anyway, so that's, the title is 2 Wars and a Wedding. Yes, and it comes out
it's a rom-com / war book.
It's not a rom-com.
But hopefully they'll make your name bigger than the title, because it won't matter if your name's on it.
Who knows? And maybe people will like, I mean, it is actually a literal description of the book. There are 2 wars and a wedding. So it's actually, it's very accurate.
It's a Reese Bowen title.
Yeah,
it really is.
For like one of her Lee Georgina books. Yeah.
You must have Reese Spiller written, then it'll all make sense.
Reese,
are you watching?
Hi, Reese. Okay, I'm sending you an ARC.
Any other questions?
I just want to say you guys have like really great chemistry together.
Oh, thank you.
We actually hate each other.
Oh yeah,
I know. That's how we go totally silent once we're off stage.
Yeah, I know.
You should hear us in the Uber at 4 in the morning. We once had an Uber driver look around for hidden cameras. He's like, "Wait, this is a show, right?"
Yeah, we were very punchy. More punchy
in the morning.
than usual.
Because we just banter.
We have bants, as they say in the UK.
So how long has this bookstore been going on?
I think this is day 11.
That is the wrong question to ask. I don't,
This is
where
the
are
tour
we?
that
Other people
never
can. No, we will always be on book tour.
Yesterday we were up for 24 hours, and then we finally went to
I know.
sleep. And
We
now
had a
We were
delayed
joking. We were
flight.
in like a Shirley Jackson remake. We have always lived in the airport.
yes.
Be
No,
fair,
we
you
actually we were
really
not
like
kidding about
the
Bike Week
hotel.
in Myrtle
Oh,
Beach.
come on, you really love the Hotel Valley, huh?
Oh,
yeah.
literally, we
This
made
was
our
our treat.
we had our flights changed so that we could spend 2 nights at the Valley. We were
Yeah.
supposed to fly out this morning. We're like, no. We will fly out of Myrtle Beach and just arrive really
midnight.
late.
Yeah.
What we didn't know is that our flight would be delayed.
Uh,
So we actually crawled into our Valley Ho beds at 1 a.m. And Karen immediately texts, there is a bathtub in the middle of my room.
Hashtag nope. It had like a purple
like, okay,
light on it. I'm like,
Karen,
this is weird.
why don't you go back to the front desk and get in the room? I think she fell asleep in the bathtub.
With the phone still on.
Yeah, that's a
It's
thriller
just
cover.
a Valley Ho quirk. We love it. But yeah, so it was actually Bike Week in Myrtle Beach.
That was a special moment when we were supposed to be going to this. We had just come from an amazing
Somebody
event in
plugged
Charleston
the
where we're
wrong
our
address.
our pearls, our high
Yes.
heels. And so Myrtle Beach, there's North Myrtle Beach and there's South Myrtle Beach. And they're very different, very different. And we were headed towards North Myrtle Beach.
But
Supposed
our
to be.
GPS did not realize that.
Yeah, yes. And so we were supposed to be going to this lovely home, this cocktail party in our honor. We were all ready for it. Instead, we pull into
In our pink dresses and pearls.
a campground for the bikers at
It was
Biker
like
Week. I'm like, I don't think this is the right
We were
place.
a little bit bemused when we got out in our heels
Yeah,
and
we
pearls.
had to switch drivers because it was getting dark, and Karen needed
I
me
can't
to drive.
drive at 9
And so
anymore.
we're like, is this?
But that's book tour with Team W for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we have fun
Never
in
dull
their
moment.
adventures.
really good
that
times.
we're
They
going to
were
write
very nice
a nonfiction
bikers.
book at some
Yes,
point. You
they
know,
were
the adventures
very
of
nice
Team
bikers.
W.
They were they were very nice. Yes. Once you get to know them.
Anybody
After a
else?
couple of beers, yeah.
And then we're like, we have a cocktail party together.
That's it? Everybody's done?
Wow.
Right. All right, Pam, how many numbers do we have? Okay, so now we come to the other fun part, which is we have a book to give away.
Wait, what do you mean we come to the
You did
fun
it, Barbara,
part?
so
What
I
do you
didn't
mean?
have
That was
to.
very insulting. You just said now we come to the fun part? Like,
Yeah, we were the
are
tour. We're like,
chopped liver.
we're like the
Okay, you had to
broccoli.
sit through our boring discussion in order to get to the giveaway.
We're the good for you bit.
I do, yeah. I took a 2.5
We're the
walk
Weetabix.
today in the middle of the day. It's great.
Enraptured with this book. And the reason I am is that one of the characters in the book, the child, the story is largely